Brittany Hodges says, what are your thoughts on Leviathan? Do you believe he is an actual creature or more symbolism? If so, where is he now? Where is he now? Oh man. Okay. So back in a younger time for me, I thought Leviathan was just obviously he's a literal creature. You read Leviathan, you're like, he's a literal creature. And then the only discussion is what kind of creature is he? And as you, let me take us to Job 41. We'll look at some of this. Can you draw? Now we're in New King James. I'm just bouncing around. Can you draw out Leviathan with a hook, or snare his tongue with a line which you lower? Okay, the idea here is that he's a water creature. That's why you would try to draw him out with a hook, or so it seems, right? Can you put a reed through his nose or pierce his jaw with a hook? Will he make supplications to you? Will he speak softly to you? Will he make a covenant with you? Will you take him as a servant forever? Will you play with him as with a bird? Or will you leash him for your maidens? Or are you going to control him? No. Will your companions make a banquet of him? Will they apportion him among the merchants? Can you fill his skin with harpoons or his head with fishing spears? Again, it's fishing analogies, right? So Leviathan seems to be some sort of like really large, really dangerous, uncontrollable sea-type creature here. Okay, lay your hand on him. Remember the battle. This is with my previous view of it's just describing a literal creature. Lay your hand on him. Remember the battle. Never do it again. Now, initially, I when I was younger, I thought that this meant Leviathan was a real creature, and Job had actually encountered Leviathan and tried to take him on, and was like, "I'll never do that again." But I don't think it means that. Even if you take it a very, very straightforward literal interpretation, it's a suggestion. Go ahead, give it a shot, and remember what happens, because you'll never want to do that again. So it's all predictive of the future. I don't think it's talking about a past experience with Leviathan. Indeed, any hope of overcoming him is false. Shall one not be overwhelmed at the sight of him? No one is so fierce that he would dare stir him up. Who then is able to stand against me? All right, and that's the main point. God's like, hey, you can't handle this thing I made. You certainly can't handle me. Let's read more. I will not conceal his limbs, his mighty power, or his graceful proportions. Who can remove his outer coat? He has an outer coat that's very tough. Who can approach him with a double bridle? He can't be tamed. Who can open the doors of his face with his terrible teeth all around? So then you're looking, okay, he's got really tough skin. He's got a really big mouth with giant, terrible teeth. His rows of scales are his pride. Okay, so he's scaled. It could be a fish-type creature. It could be something else that was scales. One is so near another that no air can come between them. They are joined to one to another. It feels a little bit like Smaug boasting about how he can't be pierced, but that black arrow got him. Anyway, they stick together and cannot be parted. His sneezes flash forth light, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. He's shooting out flames. Is this the idea? Out of his mouth go burning lights. Sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke goes out of his nostrils, as from a boiling pot and burning rushes. And it just goes on. You look at strength in his neck, and if you take it very literally, it's difficult to say this is anything other than some sort of really fantastic creature that is theoretically could exist. Okay. And there's even guys who do work on this and they try to say, theoretically there could be a creature that breathes maybe not literal fire, but like acidic or flaming type liquids. That there's creatures that have liquids like the what's that beetle that mixes the bombard beetle, is that what it's called? It mixes chemicals that explode and pop, and it's actually a pretty ridiculous explosion that happens there to scale. It's a really powerful one. So it could be something like that. So yeah, but it wouldn't be a creature we're aware of. That I think is the point here. If this is taken very literally, there's nothing that we know of currently living that corresponds to this. So it could be something extinct. It could be something that was known only to memory. Others would say, oh, but it's poetic exaggeration. And now I don't know the right answer here. This is when I don't know, I like to evaluate different, positions. Others would say it's poetic exaggeration, and they go, well, maybe it's like a hippopotamus. But some of these things are a little bit difficult. It talks about like the size of his tail, and I'm trying to see if I can find the verse where it mentions that. But it speaks of I think it speaks of the size of his tail, and if that's or I'm thinking of a different one. But it just starts to get difficult to like say that this is a known creature. Even if it's poetic exaggeration, it starts to feel like it doesn't really connect that well to known creatures. Then we have ancient Near Eastern studies that suggest that Leviathan was a known mythical creature, as in they knew it wasn't real. It was used mythically, like in stories. I shouldn't use the word myth there. Legend. There we go. That's a better word. Let me be careful with my terms. Myth is a careful term in some of this stuff. We have to be careful how we use it. It doesn't mean wasn't true, but a legend type creature. Now, if that's the case, it could simply be God's just using this sort of boogeyman of legend to demonstrate his power. He's trying to show correspond to like the biggest boogeyman of legend, but he is so much greater and more powerful. Don't mess with God. It's kind of the lesson that's there. In which case you wouldn't be looking for an actual creature there. Now, how do you like decide between these two things? Well, you've got 2 points that lend you towards the non-literal meaning. One, if Leviathan is, and I haven't looked into this, so this is hypothetical. If Leviathan is a known legendary type creature at the time, then the initial readers of Job would have been likely to think it was non-literal and it was being used for poetic reasons. So that's something I would want to vet before I put my eggs in the basket, but it would be in favor of a non-literal interpretation. The second issue is that Job is incredibly poetic. The whole book is very poetic, and I mean, like, it's literally poetry, or prose, whichever the right term here is. And as you read Job, you will see that it doesn't mean it didn't happen. I think Job was a real man who really went through these things, but I think it was written down with a lot of poetry embedded into it as part of this epic story of the life of Job that talks about the overall problem of evil that mankind deals with and how we should respond in our hearts to the problem of evil. That to me is a check mark in the category of I'm more inclined to be open to a non-literal meaning, as opposed to, let's say when Jesus feeds the 5,000, there's no reason to take this as non-literal, right? He takes the bread and he multiplies literally. When he walks on water, he literally walks. There's no context that makes this poetic, that makes this open to being non-literal. So again, this is just trying to have consistent, Bible study methods here, hermeneutics. Where is he now? If Leviathan is a literal creature, I think we're most likely thinking you would have to either say he just is extinct, or that he's just a so far undiscovered sea creature. I mean, sea creatures, I'm sure there's lots of sea creatures we haven't discovered yet. But I'm slightly inclined, to lean towards the non-literal view, purely because of the context. Yeah. Good question, Brittany. I might have a different answer for you one day when I study Job more.